Hi, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are and watch this webinar. My name is Giancarlo Fanelli, and I'm excited to help you give you this 201 webinar on a few of the more advanced features available in Domotz. Now, let's wait a couple of minutes before going into the details of this webinar. I will cover with some housekeeping items first. So for whoever is already connected during this presentation, we will try to address any question you might have. So feel free to ask questions directly during the webinar using typing your question in the GoToWebinar control panel. And depending on the question or comments you might have, one of our team members may present the relevant question at the end of this presentation. So we will cover live during this presentation, or we will answer directly to you. In any case, feel free to email our support team at support@domotz.com for any advanced question or something that you might have. Let's see what we will discuss during this demo today. We will cover a quick recap of the 101, the basics feature available in Domotz, how to configure an account, team management, configuring access capabilities like IDP or a SAM or two-factor authentication. We'll see how to configure an agent, a new agent, or to monitor a new site, a new network. We will cover some device properties as basic information in the covered in 101, and general alerting, and how to remote connect into device. Then we will go above some more advanced feature, like as we will mention today, capabilities of reporting and logging of activities on your network. We will see the network diagnostics and performance on your network, and network security capabilities available into Domotz. We will discuss about how to manage all of your agents, so all of the networks that you monitor and all of your devices discovered across all the agents or the sites that you monitor. And we will also present some of the recent capabilities added to Domotz, specifically the monitoring dashboards. Then we will go in details on how to configure SNMP and TCP monitoring, what we call sensors across multiple devices. And we will review the alerting capability, advanced alerting capability, how to configure shared alerts, how to configure a digest to receive a recap of the alerts triggered in the previous days or previous hours, a capability on how to snooze some of the alerts. At the end of the presentation, we will do some setting up of the services, like configuring, connecting Domotz to PSA or ticketing system, connecting Domotz to documentation systems like IT Glue or other asset management platforms. Now it's time to the demo. Let me stop sharing the screen and I will move to my from here. Okay, I believe you see my Domotz portal right now. This is the list of all the agents or networks that I'm monitoring with my account. And this is basically the, as I was mentioning during the agenda, this is a recap of the 101. So it has been covered during the 101. I want just to provide a recap. Through the subscription tab, you can have access to all of your agents, and you can clean up the data of the agents. You can delete the agent, so you would basically remove the subscription. You can prepay an agent for 1, 2, 3, 5 years. and review basically the configuration of your agent, the capability offered on your agent. Through the portal, you have access to what we call team management, where you can configure the accounts for your team members, for your colleagues, and you can give them access to all of your agents. So team members, the ones reported above here, have by default access to all of your agents, while the field operator has access to the selected agent that you want to provide access to. So if I want to have this field operator account have access to one more agent, I just click on the edit and I give access to that one. For every team member and for every field operator, you have the possibility to force the user to use two-factor authentication when they log into the account. And the same we do provide to the team master account. So this is my team master account. Our recommendation for security purposes is to configure two-factor authentication on your master account. While speaking about security, one of the possibilities offered through Domotz is to configure SAM, or basically an IDP, to an identity provider to allow your team member, your colleague, to access to the Domotz portal through external authentication provider like Okta, Azure, Jump Cloud, or Web Security. Within the portal, other configuration will allow you to brand your own, basically your own portal. You can specify a support email, phone number, and the logo that will be available in the Domotz portal, on the Domotz web app or in Domotz app, and we will see where. Okay, now let's jump into the app. We'll discuss more about this view, which is the view that allows you to monitor, actually manage multiple sites together. We'll discuss this a little bit more in details today, but now I want to jump into some of the activities that we have seen in the one-on-one webinar, in particular, how every single device is discovered on the network and the capabilities offered on every single device. So let me select, for instance, okay, let me go to my other site, sorry for that. If I go to my Cisco switch, most of the information you find available in the info tab for every single device are retrieved automatically through Domotz, but you can always edit names, type of the device, make, model, and the location and zone, which is actually two of the capabilities which are manually entered by the user. We mentioned during the one-on-one that for network switches, but in general for every network device that is offering SNMP capabilities and data about network interfaces, you have the list of all the network interfaces and the data that are recorded by through SNMP on the network switches as well, like traffic in inbound, outbound traffic, errors details, if there is any discarded package, and most importantly, Domotz automatically discover which is the device attached to the network interface of any single port of the switch. Why this is relevant? Because, and this is again covered by during the one-on-one webinar, this is important because it provides you information on how the devices are connected to each other, and this information is used to build the network topology map. We use two different mechanisms, two different protocols for building this topology map. One is through the RFC 4188, so it's a standard on SNMP that provides information on which device is connected to which port of every single switch. And the other information we are collecting on the network is based on LLDP, or for Cisco, the CDP. So we are using those information when we discover the network, when we discover network appliances, on how every single, let's say, network is routed between one device to the gateway and then from the gateway to internet. We discuss in the one-on-one also how to configure alerting, and we will see in details the shared alerts today. But in general, for every single account, you have also the capability of configuring personal alerts. Personal alerts will allow you to deliver messages to your personal email or through the mobile if you basically use the mobile app on your iPhone or your Android. You can always download the mobile app directly from the portal, or if you visit the Apple Store or the Google Play Store for the Android. Let me also cover another thing on how to configure a new site, the monitoring of a new site. You are always allowed to download the software to be stored on a Windows machine or on a Linux Debian or Linux Ubuntu machine. You are able to have a package for your Domotz agent or for your application to
Sorry, guys, we are experiencing some technical issues. Hope Giancarlo is coming back.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfectly, Giancarlo.
Oh, thanks, Lorenzo. There are some network issues. Sorry for that. Okay, so as a matter of fact, now you should see my list of agents, as I was mentioning. If you add a new agent, it will be showed there, but also in the list of all the agents in the app and the web app. Last thing I want to cover as a recap of the one-on-one is the remote connection that we allow to establish two devices. We talk about in the one-on-one possibility to have a direct connection to some of the services that we offer direct connection through RDP, HTTP, HTTPS, Telnet, or SSH. This is also available through our mobile app. But another possibility is to open TCP tunnel to any TCP service that you might have, and you might want to remote connect. All the remote connection that you establish through Domotz are secured by our cloud. And finally, we also cover the possibility to do a VPN on demand. So basically, we again create a secure channel between the list of the agent itself and our cloud, and we provide you with an endpoint secured by our cloud, where you basically create a VPN. You will basically have your client directly on the remote network. Okay, let's now go back to the manage, and we want to discuss about the new functionality for the one-on-one. The first one I want to cover is the reports and logging section. So again, if you jump into a dashboard for the Domotz agent itself, one of the sections there is the report and logging, or logging and report, where you have a history of all the activities performed through Domotz in the last few months by yourself or any colleague or somebody that has still access to your agent. So if you see here, I was sharing access to one of my colleagues, and my colleague was performing some VPN on demand on my agent. And within the same section, you have also the capability to generate a report for what has been recorded by Domotz in the last month on that specific agent. You have information about the agent, you have the information about how the agent connected to internet in the last month, and so the one performance, and you have information about all the important devices discovered on Domotz, but if you want also all the non-important devices and the activity log. So the same logging that you have here reported in the monthly report. Again, in the same logging and report section, you have the possibility to export via email the list of all devices discovered by your Domotz agent. One thing I want to mention here is that together with the web app and the mobile app, as we were mentioning before, you also have the possibility to download a desktop app available for Mac and Windows PC. The desktop app, I'm willing to mention that because when speaking about list of devices through the desktop app, you are able to export the list of devices directly from the desktop app on Excel sheet. Why that is important is because that Excel sheet can be edited in some of the entries like location, zone, some custom names that you want to give to the devices, and can be imported back into Domotz so that it will basically update the list of devices in the way you want through Excel. Now, going back to the Domotz dashboard for the agent tiles, let's cover the second tab that I want to discuss you today is network performance. When you land into the network performance, you will see performance measured as a matter of fact through speed test execution. The execution by default is enabled to be executed every 6 hours. So we will have a sample on every 6 hours. And we use two methodologies. One is based on Netflix technology called FAST, and the other methodology is based on Google technology called MLab or Measurement Labs. There are different methodology. They use different servers for that. We also have, or we still support like a classic methodology based on Nucla on some of our agents in the past. Let me mention that, and this is also reported here, that let's say the results recording into the for the speed test, or there are several factors that might affect the results or the performance of an ISP speed test. For instance, the location of the server, which is an external server, the location of the agent itself, and where it passed through a modem, firewall, and so on, but also the performance itself of the hardware hosting the Domotz agent itself. There is a lot of computation when performing speed tests on HTTPS, for instance, from some of the hardware hosting the Domotz agent. Now, when speaking about network diagnostic and performance, another important factor that we usually want to mention here is that we do perform round-trip delay against, or pings, basically, against every single agent every single agent, every single device discovered on the network. When we do ping the device and we do like 6 different pings every 2 minutes. We report statistics to the cloud every 6 hours. We report the worst round-trip delay, the median round-trip delay, and the best round-trip delay for every single sample, and then also the number or percentage of package which has been lost. This is one of my devices which is connected in my network. It is connected on a weak wireless access point, or let's say it's far from the wireless access point. As you can see, there are a lot of packet loss, and the round trip delay is usually very high. As a matter of fact, this device always fall offsite for my offline for my own monitoring. If you see my list of devices, I have also added a few external hosts. When you add an external host through the IP or the host name, Domotz also will ping the external website. So for instance, this is a ping that is performed from the Domotz agent out to the Domotz website. So there is the Domotz web pages, marketing web pages. We perform the ping to that web page, and also in this case, we are reporting the round trip delay against that external host. Okay. When we look at round trip delay, one thing that it's worth to be mentioned is that for every single round trip or every single device that you want to monitor in terms of latency, you can also set alerts on the round trip delay. So you can set delays or triggers for latency, the median latency or the packet loss, so that you will be informed either through email or mobile app when one of these two thresholds is breached by the latest sample. Okay, now the second tab I want to discuss today is this network security tab. We do perform, okay, the first thing that I want to mention is that we do perform continuous monitoring of the network, continuous scan of the network. And whenever there is a new device discovered on the network, we will report that single device into the list of all devices, of course. But in this report, in this network security report, we will also list all the latest devices that have been discovered. For this capability, you can set an alert so that you receive a notification if a new device has been discovered on the network, and you might not know. If it's a closed network, you do not expect any new device to be discovered on the network. That might be a security warning there. The second information in the security tab that I want to discuss is this TCP open port scanner. By default, Domotz will basically scan your public IP address, so the public IP address of the network that you are monitoring from the Domotz cloud, to see if there is any open ports from outside. As you can see in my home network, I have these ports open. I have acknowledged that I know why this port is open. It's for connectivity on my modem, basically. But what is important here to notice is that, again, if you expect to have a closed network, you don't expect any port to be open. This system will inform you if there is a new port discovered which is open on that network. Similarly, from inside the network, we perform a scan of devices that might use the UPnP to open ports automatically on the gateway. More importantly, we also try to connect to the gateway itself and check if UPnP is enabled. Don't forget that some of the gateways are enabling UPnP by default. This is like very often in a residential environment, but sometimes we have found that the gateway is enabling UPnP even in a more commercial environment. All of this information are very important to be mentioned because most of the security assessment or the security process, if you consider an IST or the CIS or even the SOC 2 compliance, they all require you to be aware of the devices covered on the network or the ports that are open on the network or all these UPnP configuration on the network itself. Okay, now let's jump, and just to follow the agenda, let's jump back into the list of all the sites. When you land into Domotz, on the Domotz app or the Domotz desktop app or the web app in this case, you will land on the list of all the sites that are monitored through your account. Every single site is basically a network or a combination of networks. So in this case, you have one, let me get one with multiple VLANs, for instance. So I have this, yeah, this is quite a big network. So I have this quite a big network with 6 VLAN. Every single one of these VLANs is monitored through Domotz on a layer 2 protocol. When you monitor networks, you can monitor the network both in layer 2. So if it is an attached network or you have a configured network interface on the device hosting the Domotz agent, you will have all the interfaces monitored on layer 2. Plus, you can add routed networks to your Domotz agent, and those will be monitored on layer 3. Don't forget that when you monitor on layer 3, Domotz is not able to retrieve information like the MAC address, which is a layer 2 information. So some of the capabilities offered by Domotz are not available when you monitor device on a routed network. As we were seeing before, you are also allowed to add external hosts, so external IP address, public IP address to be monitored through the same Domotz agent. I'm discussing about this managed view because this is a very quick view of all the sites that you are willing to, that you are monitoring through Domotz. We provide information about the site itself, if it's online or if it is offline. There is a quick map with reading information about which sites are completely offline, which means that either the ISP is having issues or the Domotz or the hardware hosting the Domotz agent itself is completely offline at the moment. But the yellow status, so the green status of course means that everything is fine. The yellow status means that there might be some devices which are offline currently. Some of those devices are important. So out of 44 important devices, which means that those are the devices that are supposed to be always online, 15 of them are currently offline, so discovered as offline by Domotz. So all this information is available in one view. Some of the capability or the actions is also available through a quick button. So if you basically want to set up a VPN on demand, you have the capability directly available on this managed view. Similarly, if you want to see the network information or view the network topology, in one click, you can see the network topology directly from this managed view. My line is currently very, very slow, so you might hear me, but while streaming, connecting to the Domotz portal might be quite slow. Very, very similarly, you have also the possibility to review all the devices across all the sites, across all the customers that you want to monitor. Again, this view is very important because you can easily search. Okay, I had the filter pre-configured. You can easily search, for instance, for all your Cisco devices. If I want to search for all the Cisco devices in my network, I can see all of them in my view. I can select all of them and then apply some of the capabilities that we will also discuss, like the shared alerts, or if you want to monitor TCP, or if you want to monitor SNMP sensors, you are allowed to edit all of them together from one single view, basically. Again, for the device as well, we provide all the information, well, most of the information which might be relevant for you when the device is, let's say I'm filtering for the important device here. I can basically see which one of the important devices across all of my sites are currently offline, for instance. No, sorry, offline. I'm also mentioning about this manager, and I will show you our support account just to let you understand the capabilities offered by this manage view. In particular, okay, let me jump on this. Okay, no, this is a different tab. Okay, this is my this is our production support account. So whenever one of you guys share access to your agent to our support team, we can basically access the agent and device to from our support line to help you troubleshoot issue with Domotz. Okay, again, this view is currently very slow for me because I'm on a very slow connection, but what I wanted to show you is that through this view, I'm able to manage more than 200,000 devices in a single view, basically. Okay, let me go back to my account. So all the capabilities offered in these kind of tables allow you to sort by entities. So if you want to search for all the devices that offer the pre-configured SNMP sensors, currently offline, and we'll discuss about the pre-configured, you will basically search for all of them, and then by clicking on them, you can review the status of the device itself. Now, while speaking about this in particular, SNMP, I want to jump into a different topic now, and I want to discuss about how to use SNMP through Domotz to monitor, let's say, different capabilities offered by devices. My network is still very slow. Sorry for that. Okay. In this case, I have one Cisco network switch, which is monitored with some of we call custom OID. So whenever there is SNMP available on the device, I have the capability of adding specific sensors, let's say, so specific OID to be monitored. So when if I know a specific OID to be monitored, I can manually enter the OID, or I can use Domotz that suggests me the OID based on the MIBs available on that specific device. If I have temperature, I don't know if there is a temperature on this switch, but if I have a temperature, it will basically load the temperature there. And I can start then seeing there might be a temperature here. It starts retrieving the SNMP parameter for the temperature sensor. I can retrieve the information. Once retrieved, I can add into my table. But one information that is also available here is what we call pre-configured SNMP sensors. I'm now showing you something that is actually going to be in production tomorrow. So it will be completely new for you guys. It's basically the capability to retrieve all the information about the network interface of network switches We were mentioning about inbound, outbound traffic. We were mentioning about errors, packet loss, the status of the NIC itself, the physical address of every single port, the MTU negotiated on that specific port, and the speed negotiated on every single port. All these information are now available in the Domotz and can be reported in every single entities in the SNMP, and soon will be available also in the monitoring table. We will discuss about the monitoring table very soon. Once they will be available there, you will also be able to configure alerting on any single one of these information as well. While speaking about the pre-configured SNMP sensor, it's worth to mention that we are adding more and more of these pre-configured sensor. We currently cover the following type of devices. As we mentioned right now, the network switches are going to be covered tomorrow. We also cover printers, and when we talk about printers, we basically extract the list of ink available on the printer itself and the level of the ink level of every single ink. I'm sorry for how slow my connection is right now. Okay. Okay, so let me try, give me a second, let me try to connect on a different network here, might be faster. I will be probably offline for a couple of seconds. Yes. Okay, so these are the printers, as I was mentioning. There is the drum unit and the ink level unit, the cartridge basically, and the level of voltage reported here. Again, you can get the history of the cartridge or the drum unit as well. And we will see later during the presentation how we can group all of this information together in the monitoring table. So the SNMP pre-configured template are working for network switches, printers, NAS drive as well, and UPS. So from the UPS, we will extract the remaining battery, the percentage of the battery level, and so on. Now, when we talk about sensors and other information that we collect in Domotz and other capabilities that we offer in Domotz is the possibility to monitor TCP services available on every single device itself. So through this interface, you basically can add a sensor to monitor port, for instance, oops, in this case it was already monitored, to port every single service or TCP service on the device itself. In this case, I'm monitoring service HTTP, service SSH, and the HTTPS on this specific switch. When you configure either SNMP sensor or TCP sensors through the alert tab and the personal tab in this case, but we will simplify this configuration, you will be able to configure a trigger if the TCP ports, for instance, goes offline, you can receive an email or something, or through the SNMP if there is any value that change. So for instance, if we were mentioning about the temperature, if the temperature goes above a certain level, you will be able to receive an email on that event. one thing I want to mention here is that whenever you configure a custom alert on the SNMP sensor, the same, let's say, rule or the same trigger will also work on the shared alert, and we will discuss about the shared alert very, very soon. The last thing I want to mention when we talk about sensors is that very recently we have also added the possibility to, let me see if I have here one device. Oops. I want to show one device which has OS monitoring available. Okay, this is a virtual machine server, which is fine, still fine. One of the capability we have added recently is that we can connect either via SSH or via WinRM to different operating systems. So we connect to Windows machine, we connect to Linux machine, we connect to Mac OS machine, in this case a VMware server, ESXi, and we start extracting more information out of those servers, like the name of the operating system, the build, the architecture, and then when we discuss about, say, parameter or performances, the memory available, the memory used, the list of CPUs in some cases, the list of physical and logical disks available on that specific machine, and is specifically for virtual machine servers, the list of all virtual machine and status of the virtual machine, and some other information like number of processors, memory allocated for the virtual machine itself, also available through this same process. Okay, now let's start discussing about alerting. Let's go to the alerting setting. When you land into the alerting settings or the alert setting across all the sites, you will be able to connect, and we'll discuss a little bit more even later today, you will be able to connect your own PSA platform to your account, or ticketing system to your account, but more importantly, you will be able to connect other delivery or contact channels to deliver alerts to your team, either through emails, so you can specify an email that can be added, that can be used to deliver the trigger or to deliver the notification if something happens on your networks. You can use a webhook. So for instance, if you have your own web server and you want the web server to be notified if something happens in Domotz, you can configure webhooks. You can configure some chat platform like Slack, Microsoft Teams, or even Telegram to be used to receive notification when something happens in Domotz. Once you have configured the contact channel, you can create what we call a shared alert profile, winner 01. You specify the contact channel. So let's say that we want to use support Domotz, but also to deliver to my teams, Microsoft team, my events. Okay. Once I've added those contact channels, I can configure the event that I want to be used to trigger notification. So let's say I am only interested in network connectivity. So I will scroll down to network events, and I want to receive notification when the network disconnect, or when the network connect again, or even if there is a public IP address change. One thing to notice here, the Domotz agent is a software installed on your own hardware, okay? If the hardware fails on your network, basically the Domotz agent disconnects from the cloud. And so in this case, this is what happens. So the notification will be, it's like a network event, because from the Domotz cloud point of view, the agent is not able to communicate to the Domotz cloud anymore. So it's a connection lost basically for us. once you configure a shared alert profile, what you want to do, so this is a webinar 201, what you want to do is attach the shared alert profile to the device or the sites that you want to monitor. In this case, as I was mentioning, this is like a site kind of events that I'm interested in too. So when I go to the sites and I want to attach to my 2 agent, for instance, or 3 agents, I can attach the shared alert directly, all of them together directly with one click. So whenever there is a network event on one of these 3 networks, I will be notified through Microsoft Teams and through my support email address that I use in the shared alert profile. Similarly, if you have configured a shared alert profile which keep track of events occurring at the device level, and when I speak about device level, let me go back to this view. Let's suppose we have now not only network but device issues. You can, let me disconnect those. You can basically track device that goes down and device that goes up, of course. If we have configured SNMP events, you want to monitor SNMP or TCP events, you want to retrieve round-trip delay events. You remember we were showing the triggers at the threshold for round-trip delays. Or there is another topic that we have not discussed yet, I will discuss later on, which is the configuration files that we are able to extract from network devices. So whenever something like this happens on a network, you will be notified on those events, in my case through Microsoft Teams and through my support email address. How do you attach the alert profile? Again, you can select the device directly from, so let's suppose I am monitoring all of them. I can select my devices that I want to configure the shared alert profile and attach the shared alert profile to all of them in one click. One thing I didn't mention here, of course, you can filter by the site. So if you want only to look at one specific site, okay, you can do that. Okay, still speaking about alerting, one other capability offered by the Domotz is personal alerts. Now, for personal alerts, we have 2 configurations that you can enable, apart from start monitoring devices or start monitoring network. One is the alert digest, which in my case is configured. What the alert digest means is that, and you can see the configuration here, alert digest. This means that Domotz, in this case, it's active only for a range of time. So time window between 5:30 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. is completely configurable, this kind of setting. So what Domotz will do is basically collect all the personal alerts that were supposed to be delivered in this time frame, and instead to be real-time delivered, these events will be collected in a report, which is sent to my email address at the end of the time window that I've selected. Similarly, I can decide to collect all these personal alerts once per day and send a notification once per day. This is very important, for instance, if you want to have one account just to collect some of the alerts and have a report on a daily basis. Going back to Domotz and going back to the alert setting, the other capabilities that we have in Domotz is the possibility to snooze alerts at the agent level or snooze alert completely on my account. Let's see how I can snooze alerts on the agent level, or just disable the alerting at the agent level. So when you go on the agent dashboard under the alert setting, you have the possibility to switch off completely, disable the alerts on a specific agent, or just snooze for a certain amount of time. So let's suppose I want to snooze for 1 hour, or this want to snooze for time interval, and I want to snooze for 1 hour. So basically, Domotz will not send me any notification for the next 1 hour. This is very important if you are scheduling any maintenance activity on a specific site and you want to not to be, let's say, notified of all the events that might happen during the maintenance activity. I was mentioning when speaking about alerting, I was mentioning configuration management. What the configuration management is basically the capability to extract, here, the possibility to extract configuration file out of networks devices. Let's suppose I have this Cisco switch. What Domotz does, automatically connecting to the switch itself, it extracts the configuration file of the network switch itself, and it will backup. It will create a history of all the backups. Only differences will be stored, so that we have seen you can be notified if there is a change happening on the Cisco switch in this case, but we support multiple of them. You can be notified if there is a misalignment between the runtime configuration and the startup configuration. You might be aware that when you configure a network appliance and you do a configuration change, what happens is that usually you change the runtime configuration, but then you need to commit and save the configuration so that when the appliance restart, it starts from that saved configuration. Sometimes it happens that technician just forget to save the configuration, and as soon as the switch restart, it will basically restart from the old configuration saved there, and that might be an issue. So for all these changes, you can be notified. Domotz automatically backup changes every 6 hours. As you see here, last time it was 5 hours ago. If I do a change now, in 1 hour, it will be saved, the new configuration. You are able to restore to Domotz a previously configured file. Why this is important, as we mentioned, no? You will be notified if there is a change, or let's suppose you have some issue on a network and you see through Domotz that there was a change in one of the network appliances. Probably that change triggered the network issue. You might want to restore a previously saved configuration. This is also important in case of failure or physical failure of the appliance. Suppose you have your Netgear switch that fails, save the configuration through Domotz, you replace the Netgear switch and apply to the new one. Sorry for this, let's say, parenthesis in the flow that we were following before. I wanted to show you the network configuration capabilities. Network file configuration capabilities. Now, the last item I want to discuss is the capability to integrate Domotz with different tools or different third-party software tools. In my case, my account is already connected with this. We do Hello PSA, Synchro, MSP. We do support now. We support documentation system like ITO. When we do configure integration with asset management documentation system, we basically are allowed through Domotz to connect a Domotz site or Domotz agent with an active organization or synchro configuration, and then every single Domotz device with IT glue configuration, MAC addresses, otherwise you will be allowed to match manually between Domotz devices and configuration or configuration in a synchro or other bi-directional integration, which means that Domotz is able to send information to the documentation system, or is also able to retrieve configuration information from the documentation system. Domotz is the driver, while IT glue is the driver, for instance, for the name, for the model, or other information here. Now, when we discuss about integration, and this is probably I'm going to develop during the last 6 years a lot of native integration with devices discovered on the network. We do integrate with PDUs, we have seen in the 101, for instance. We have integrated with the network switches, we have integrated with a lot of other devices on the network. But now, since last November, we are also offering the possibility for every single user to develop their own script to integrate with Domotz, and integrate Domotz with any network device on the network to retrieve information, to send command to the device itself, and so on. This is a very, very powerful tool. We have a specific webinar we did in November. We will probably do again in September, October, covering the last capability offering the custom driver. The last thing I want to talk when we speak about custom integration is that all the information available through the Domotz app or the Domotz web app are also available through public APIs, through RESTful API. Through Domotz, you are able to configure an API key, which will allow you to retrieve the information or send command to Domotz. There is a documentation also available on Domotz with all the APIs right now. This really brings me to the end of the presentation. I suppose we had some questions during this presentation, and I will ask my colleague to bring live any question that might require more time now or might require share.
Hey, Giancarlo, yes. One question that came up was if you've set up one device the way you need it with SNMP sensors and various other pieces, is there a way to create a template and apply that to similar devices?
Oh, very, very good question. Thanks, Bobby, for bringing that question. Yes, there is a possibility. So in my case, I had that Cisco switch. So let's select again there was Cisco, where there were some SNMP sensors already extracted. It is true that I can basically extract information directly from the device. So if I select the device, I can export a device setting and properties. One of the properties here will be the list of SNMP sensors that I have extracted there. Let me see if I now import that same file. We show that one and import that one. You will see that there are configuration of the SNMP, but there are also all the SNMP sensors that were configured on that same switches might be imported back. So imagine I have exported that Cisco switch configuration in terms of the SNMP, and I import back to all the other systems that I have access through my manage here. Any other question?
We did have a few others, but it seemed like you covered all of them during the webinar. So I think we might be okay, which means we ended right on time too.
That's true. Yeah, usually we are very long. Which of course we try to put most of the information in 1 hour. There are many other features which are available in Domotz. Let me mention now, Bobby, most of the capabilities offered by Domotz are very intuitive. The platform is usually very simple to use. All the capabilities offered in the web app are also available in the mobile app. So being a mobile company as well, so we develop our own mobile app there. We try to make all the functionality or even the complex stuff as simple as possible into our UI. Okay, I would like to thank everybody for your time today. I hope you have a better understanding of Domotz and what we can do for you and all of your clients. In any case, as I was mentioning at the beginning of the presentation, we are always here to help you to be more efficient with your work. Now, we want you to be the hero for your client and your customers for the management of their network. So at this point, I want just to switch off the webinar and remind you that if you have any question or have any follow-up concern or something, just drop an email to our support team. They are answering to support@domotz.com. Thank you, everybody.